Good evening. It's the Catalyst Sessions once again. I'm Bill DeYoung, representing the St. Pete Catalyst. We are attempting, in our own way, to keep the arts community together of Tampa Bay during this time. Today, we're joined by husband and wife opera singers Tyler Putnam, who is a bass, by the way, and Sarah Nordin, who is what we call a mezzo-soprano. Tyler is from Big Island, Maine, and Sarah hails from Crystal River, Florida, just up US 19 from us up in Citrus County. And they'll both be familiar to fans of St. Petersburg Opera Company and Opera Tampa. Sarah, in fact, played Magdalena in the recent St. Petersburg Opera Company production of Verdi's Rigoletto, which was in January. You know, I realize it's almost May, but the performing arts have been kind of stalled for so long now. It kind of feels like January was just a week or so ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we got a lot to talk about, you guys, but
Yeah.
first, you're going to grace us with a song. Where are you today? Where are you talking to us from?
We are in Lakeland, staying at my mother's house because we were here doing Pirates of Penzance in
Yeah.
Tampa when everything shut down. So we're here.
You live in New York, right? We should
Yes.
establish that. Yeah, okay. So
Yes.
you're in Florida. You're sort of virtually with us anyway. So
Yes.
you're going to sing something for us today. What do we got?
Yeah, we'd like to start with a duet from Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel, one of our favorite things to sing.
Fabulous.
Okay, let me get it going.
If I loved you time and again, I would try to say all I want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never to know.
If I loved you, time and again I would try to say all I want you to know. If I loved you, words wouldn't come in an easy way. Round in circles I'd go, longing to tell you, but afraid and shy. I'd let my golden chances pass me by. Soon you'd leave me, off you would go in the mist of day. Never, never
beautiful. Thank you so very much. I was
Sure.
saying before we went on that it's just nice to have music here on the Catalyst sessions every once in a while. Speaking of music, let me do that.
Whoa!
Yeah.
You guys, you were
Yeah.
both in the Opera Tampa production of Pirates of Penzance.
And will be again.
Well, yeah. Oh, don't get ahead of me now. The rug got pulled just before you were scheduled to open in March. It wasn't it March 13th. It was that week, wasn't it?
Friday, March 13th. We got
I know. It was Friday the 13th.
30 a.m. that the show was not going to go on. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Tyler was going to be the Pirate King, which and still is, which
Yeah.
is the photograph that you see behind me here. I have to get one of those beards too. So, which is one of the major roles in this Gilbert and Sullivan operetta. You had memorized and committed and rehearsed and blocked and fine-tuned, both of you, and were ready to go right on the edge.
Yeah.
What does that feel like? God.
It's very weird because we had a day off before the show opens, you know, and so you kind of relax, but it's sort of a nervous day always.
It was that close then.
Yeah, that close. I mean, our soprano posted that morning like, "I'm so happy to still be going on tonight," and then didn't happen.
Yeah, those are 2 or 3 days in our lives that we're never gonna forget. I know,
Yeah.
you know what I was doing. So for me, it was 2 reactions. It was I didn't want to believe it. So I got a call from Robin Stamper, the artistic director, at like, well, maybe it was 9:30 in the morning. It's early for us. I just gotten up. And the show.
Well, you have a 2-year-old. You're up that early.
Yeah.
She's a good sleeper. She's a good.
Oh, good. Great.
I didn't want to believe it. I didn't think that's what it was about. I thought he was calling me with notes
Wow.
from dress rehearsal. And he's
Well,
like,
you know, a lot of
about.
people have told me, both of you, that you know, productions that were sitting on the precipice there, that they were kind of nervously watching the news all week. Like, is this coming? Is this coming this fast? Surely we can get the first show out. You know, American Stage was ready to go. I saw one of the previews. I think Job Site was ready to go. Certainly St. Pete Opera had the creative collaboration show,
Yeah.
all on the 13th. And it
Yeah.
was a Friday the 13th. Maybe we should have known.
Yeah. Nobody even talked about that. Like, actually, nobody in the cast had mentioned it. No one was talking about it at all. We all really thought we would get it in. It didn't happen.
Of course.
Because the theme parks had already declared, well, Disney first, that they would be closed, I think, starting that Monday, so 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th or something. So
We
they
have a
were
weekend.
planning to stay open that weekend. So
Yeah.
we thought, if they're open, why can't we be too? But, you know, Broadway closed Thursday the 12th, and the country followed. And I don't blame anybody for that. It's just tough. It would have been hard no matter when it happened.
Yeah.
There's no
But we're
precedent.
happy. The show will go on. We're going to do it again.
Yeah.
And we'll be there.
Yeah. Well, here's my question to you, though, because, you know, I mean, Gilbert and Sullivan's particularly so polysyllabic. Is that the word? So much rapid fire stuff.
Yeah.
For you, Tyler, what's the shelf life for something like that to stay in your head? January 2021, this is going to be produced now.
It's gone.
Is it all gone already?
No, I know. This is the 3rd time I've done the role, so it's a little bit deeper back.
Oh,
than
that's
it was
good,
this
yeah.
one. And it actually will be the footwork, like where you are on the stage, the relationships. Because I'm thinking, I don't know for sure how they're going to schedule rehearsals, but they'll probably do it a little quicker. You know, save a bit of money. So they'll try to like if it's most of the people coming back again, because we've already rehearsed the show. So that'll be the work, is getting the footwork back.
The fine tuning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also wonder if, you know, after all these months of being at home and dining in, all
Is
the
it
costumes
months
will
now?
still
Is it
fit.
months?
You know,
Yeah.
Oh,
gotta
really?
take a few of those pirate costumes out, boys. Hey, Sarah, you are what's known as a Mozartian, and if that was a sitcom, it would be my favorite Mozartian. Okay. Listen, so you've done turns. I was looking at your resume today, and you've been in Don Giovanni, of course, and the Magic Flute, and Così fan tutte.
Yeah.
among many others and numerous times. So my question is this: when you're a Mozartian, does
Yeah.
that mean those roles are particularly tricky or difficult to sing, and you've earned a reputation as someone who can nail them
Yeah.
and do them
Yeah.
well? Is that what it means? Oh, she's a
It
reliable.
means you're sort of specialized in that. Therefore, people can expect a certain sound from you that's, normal for Mozart. And yes,
Which which composers are both of you are most difficult to sing, and
like,
probably therefore most fun, I would imagine.
oh yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've been singing Mozart since the first aria I ever learned, which was Voi che sapete in Le nozze di Figaro, which is
Oh,
Cherubino, right? So,
Mhm.
it's the
sure.
first Italian aria I ever tried, and so it's been
Mhm.
lifelong working on Mozart. And also, I was a horn player as a child and a violin player even earlier, and I've been playing Mozart since I was 3.
Mm.
So it's just a style that I'm very, very comfortable with.
Well, to go back to what I said too, carrying on from that, I mean, is Puccini harder to sing than Verdi? Is I don't know if
It
anybody does
completely
Wagner
depends
anymore,
on
but
the
it's
singer. I think it totally depends on the singer. Everybody's voice is different, and there's certain composers that just grab you and feels like they were writing for you, and then other composers that feel like they were writing for someone else, but dang it, I can do it.
Mhm.
well, this brings up something that's interesting to me. And obviously, I've talked with Mark Sforzini about this, and other people over the years that I've spoken with who are in opera. One of the uphill battles, of course, that opera companies have to fight all the time is convincing people that opera is not this archaic art form. It's not stuffy, and it's not. Here's the old stereotype, large blonde women wearing, Viking helmets and armor, and then there's the issue. Mark always brings this up too. Well, the foreign languages, and that's why we do the subtitles. My
Yeah.
point is this. My long-winded point is this. We're gonna keep looking at Tyler in that costume while we talk about this because it's funny. Um,
You should do that.
you guys are young and yeah, that's the one. So I'm curious, both of you, what was your process for getting into opera? Was it a natural extension of musical theater?
For me, yes.
How did it grab you, as they say?
For me, it was an extension of musical theater. So I grew up on Shebig Island, Maine, and in the summers I did summer theater. I didn't do
Yeah.
sports camp. I did theater, and I how do you put it? It's such a small community. I think I was 12. I have to check with my mom when they like promoted me from kids theater to adult theater, and the adult theater was putting on a rather ambitious thing. It was Carousel by Rodgers and Hammerstein,
Mhm.
and you did things. I like to brag about this in community theater that you can't do in professional theater. So they took the role, like Bill is this famous soliloquy that he does that's like
Yeah.
6, 7 minutes long. And it's hard to find anybody in community theater that's gonna do that well. So the director, she just made like 4 bills, and I was bill number 3, and I got to sing that one beautiful line about my little girl, um, like sweet as peaches and cream is she at like 12,
Well,
and
so the whole soliloquy is done by 4 bills.
yeah, and we had white
Oh.
shirts and said bill number 1, number 2, number 3. Community theater, it's just
Yeah,
one of
you
those
can't do
things.
that in professional theater. It doesn't work.
So I grew up thinking that Rodgers and Hammerstein, like that was it. That was musical theater. And only when I got to college was I like, oh no, that was musical theater from the 1950s. That's old. We don't. That's like old people stuff. And so but the way they sang on those recordings, that stuck with me. And I think that's how and why I ended up in opera. And so I always connect with that.
That sort of operatic style of singing, you mean?
Yeah,
It's not
Yeah.
it's
like
really,
musical theater now. People just, for the most part, in many shows, just sing like pop singers or whatever.
Yeah.
there's
But
pop.
those are like
there's
it's
noisy-
classical musical theater. Yeah.
Yeah, but like the 1950s, before microphones, when Broadway had
Well,
to project.
Right.
That's
There's
right,
still more
yeah.
microphones,
Thought of
but
that.
the memory went back far enough.
Yeah.
Julie Andrews, and so John Raitt was the singer from Carousel that I look
Sure.
up to, and Alfred Drake. These amazing, just brilliant singers. They were incredible. So that's how I ended up geared towards opera. But you know, Sarah's story is a little different.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I started out playing Mozart on the violin and the horn, and so I
Yeah.
just was very familiar with classical music anyway. And then I was singing in choir a lot. I was also, when I was 2, I told my dad I wanted to be a singing queen. And so it was always something that like I definitely wanted to do. It didn't matter what kind of singing it was.
A singing queen.
Yes. And I think that opera definitely embodies a singing queen in the best way.
Yeah, okay, sure.
But I saw in high school, I went and saw Porgy and Bess at the Strass.
Uh,
And I thought to myself, now, opera's not as stuck up as everybody says it is.
yeah.
Because Porgy
Yeah.
and Bess has everything in it that my mom won't let me watch on TV.
That's a great gateway, Porgy and Bess. It really is, yeah.
It
No.
grabbed me immediately, and I was sold.
So, but you have to, the lessons, the training,
Yeah.
you have to really commit to, I want to do this. You know, there really aren't a lot, none of them are any good. Amateur opera singers, you need training.
Yeah.
Tyler's rolling his eyes over there. I suppose there are a few bad ones out there somewhere. You know.
Oh, of course, right. But, what was I going to say? I was thinking as you're asking the question that only now is singing opera starting to really be fun, to finally be comfortable with it.
For you or for the world?
For me.
Oh, okay.
And I am 33 now. I've been doing it for about a decade, doing opera for about a decade.
Okay.
And there is so much to learn, and there's so many very knowledgeable people telling you how much you still need to learn, and honestly how bad you sound. Like there's a lot of potential there, beautiful instrument, but you are wrong about XYZ, Italian, German. You are scooping up to that pitch. Remember, it's this pitch, that pitch. Look at this rhythm. There's armies of people, knowledgeable people who've spent their lives studying this stuff, telling you what you don't know about it. And that's the process. That's one reason they teach it in school, because there's just so much you can design classes around it. But in the end, it takes years to ingest all that, and then go back to that animal instinct of performing, and then unleash it in this foreign language, staying within the rules that you've been taught.
So you're never quite done, in other words.
Never, ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's always another opera and another conductor and other ideas, and you have to get it all ingrained in you to the point where you can let the animal out, like Tyler says. And
Well, you know, I think that you know what they call the stigma of opera, and again, Swartzini and I have discussed this before. He talks and I listen, you know, and he's right. But he's right. You know, I mean, I defer to him. That it really is it's another form of musical theater. You know, it's like once you accept the world that it gives you, it gives back so much to you. And you have to get over your preconceptions of what it is. And you know, those of us out here, I mean, you guys obviously listen. I did have a question about newer operas. You know, the idea of, well, okay, there's these classic German, French, Italian pieces that have been around for 100 years, and English too. Tyler, I mean, here's what I found on Tyler's sheet. You know, Figaro 90210. Okay, The Revolution of Steve Jobs. Am I right? And an opera based on Cold Mountain. And Sarah, The Circuit Rider's Wife, which you spent 3 years. These are new pieces. I'm going to take a wild guess. You know, is there an extra added layer of excitement for you to work in something that nobody's heard before? We're gonna show this to people.
Especially if the composer's there and he says, you know what, your voice does this. Let's write a new song for you.
Mm-hmm.
Has that happened, really?
Yeah, that happened to me in The Circuit Rider's Wife, and it happened to me in the most recent one, which was Un Bocca al Lupo. And you know, they had this vision, but then they get you up there and they say, oh my gosh, but you're so good at this. Let's do this instead.
Wow. How about you, Tyler? What's that
feeling like? With a Mozart opera, you know, like he can't change it for you right now.
Oh no, you're not going to dig him up. No. What
Yeah.
What about you, Charlie? What are your favorite ones of like modern things that you worked in?
Well, the three you mentioned were all very different circumstances. So Figaro 90210 was a wonderful one that played off Broadway on 42nd Street. Um, and what happened there, that was Mozart's The Marriage of Figaro in terms of the music, but in
Yeah.
English with an entirely new translation that set Susanna and Figaro, the servants, as illegal immigrants in this country working for this guy in his Beverly Hills mansion. And it just, not only did it bring the subject matter to today, but I learned so much more about the characters in The Marriage of Figaro from this guy's translation. I'm gonna slaughter his last name, but Vid Guerrerio, if you look up Figaro 90210, also a Dartmouth alum. We both went to Dartmouth.
Yeah.
He made me think about the character of Susanna and Figaro in a new way, and I will never. His production, his translation, is always with me anytime I think of that opera because he really understood it. So
Yeah.
that was super.
And I would also
magical
say that it's not a
experience.
translation in the traditional sense.
Oh, it's
He changes some of the plot. He
Mhm.
changes a lot. I mean, completely changes what people say, but the spirit of the piece and of the situation is exactly the same.
Yeah, it's a whole vision. And it was in a pretty small theater, and so it also took, you were talking about taking that kind of the alienation out of opera, the distancing, because it was totally just spoken, natural text, very intimate.
That's what I don't say it like this, but that's what's great about the fact that, most of these operas are kind of in public domain now. You can do that.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah,
really
also.
rewrite Gershwin or
Yeah.
Irving Berlin or Lennon and McCartney,
Yeah.
but you can do it with something
You can
like
redo
that.
Mozart all you want.
You know why people don't is
He's not going to complain, right?
it takes a ton of time and
Yeah.
and it's hard to get paid to do it. We spent some time translating a libretto for Rossini's La Cenerentola. We're working with someone else's translation and just adjusting rhymes and rhythms, and we spent, fortunately we're locked down in quarantine, we spent just dozens and dozens of hours on that project. But I wanted to say new opera, Beth Morrison projects. Are you aware of that? They're based in Brooklyn, one of the biggest producers of brand new opera. Mostly it's in English, and if you go to Beth Morrison Projects, that's what it is, Beth Morrison Projects. Every week they have one of their shows streaming for free.
Oh,
It's something
the Met's
I'm
doing that,
up
yeah.
with right now. This is
Yeah.
all brand new stuff.
And they support people who are coming up with these things, and
They do workshops.
they workshop
mount
it and
these
help the
things.
composers get something on its feet.
Where did you guys meet? Let me guess, it was in a show somewhere.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it. On a gig in
Yeah.
Lebanon, New Hampshire, Opera
Yeah.
North. So it was.
Yeah, it was a young artist program, Opera North, and we were both young artists there, but we were doing South Pacific,
Ah,
and I was the Nelly cover and he was Luther Billis.
he was Luther Billis, of course,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is the role I did at St. Pete.
It's a, I know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So that town in New Hampshire is that like, Lover's Lane for opera singers? I mean, who knew? Wow.
You know,
It's
the
all
audience
kindled up there, man.
is this, and they all come out. So, well, hopefully, you can choose. That's a cool thing about opera. If you set it up, you could choose this destination in the middle of nowhere, and if you put on something awesome, people are going to come. They'll come from a long ways.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Santa
yeah.
Fe gets people from all over the world to come all the way out there and watch opera every summer.
Yeah, and is it easier? You live in Brooklyn or something now, right? Or
The Bronx.
you're in. Okay. I mean, is it easier to live in New York City and travel everywhere than to sort of?
Oh yeah.
Is there a lot of work in New York as well? I know you've been at the Met, Sarah, and but is it nice to have a place that's a little more centralized, and there's maybe more auditions in New York?
It's where all the auditions are, and it's where all
Yeah.
the pianists and the coaches are.
Oh,
And
sure.
the
I hadn't thought of that yet.
And so all of your study, while you're learning your next role, it's so much easier to be where you can just call a pianist and say, "How about tomorrow?" And they'll say, "Sure."
Yeah, it's also one of the greatest sources of inspiration as an artist is to be there in that city. You know, things come through in not just our art form, but
In
you hear
everything.
it and you're like, I gotta go see that while it's in town. So
Yeah, boy, you can't really do that in Lakeland or
No, no,
or
no.
Shebang
What
Island for that
problem
matter.
with Florida is the lack of pianists. Like
yeah,
I
or the
need more
piano
pianists.
players.
What I'm gonna do is take the virtual background off. Not that it's not lovely to look at, but we're gonna re-enter the world of reality. And
Okay.
let me ask you before we close out tonight, what's in store for you next? I mean, aside from waiting around like everybody else. I mean, do you have gigs lined up in the fall that will probably happen?
Oh yeah, so we just signed contracts, and I think that's important that it'll probably happen.
Yeah.
With the Opera Orlando, we're both in Die Fledermaus, the German operetta. Oh,
Oh
we're
yeah.
doing it in English, and it's
Oh.
going to be at the Walt Disney Theater, the big house at the Dr. Phillips Center in Orlando. And I don't want to get the dates wrong. I think it's early November, late October, early November, the start of their season. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
you know, let's have the theaters open.
By
come
October.
November, yeah.
Yeah, and,
So
and of course January Opera Tampa, the Strat Center with the
Yeah.
Pirates of Penzance.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I hope to see you both back here with St. Pete Opera too, which I'm especially fond of St. Pete Opera, as you know.
Oh,
And,
me too.
yeah, wonderful people. I was just talking with Chris this afternoon, as a matter of fact, and
Yeah. You know,
Yeah,
St.
great.
Pete's Opera gave me my very first lead role in a professional setting without a young artist program attached to it.
Yeah, you just
What
come
was
out
it-
of
what
your
was
arts training.
It was Orlovsky in Die Fledermaus, which I have done 7 times now, and and Mark is the one that gave me that first confidence, you know, that I don't have to be a young artist forever.
Mhm.
well, he's like that. He's very
Yeah.
inspiring. Mark, if you're watching, hey, maestro.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mark.
I can't thank you guys enough for joining us tonight. I should tell the folks at home that tomorrow night it is the Right Reverend Billy Seawarts, who is Florida's premier boogie woogie piano player and a really great songwriter and a funny guy.
There's a
Very
pianist.
far from the opera. I'm sorry?
I said, there's a pianist for you. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should work with Bill. I tell you what, man. So that's going to be fun. You guys, Sarah Nordin, Tyler Putnam, we will see you, if not before, we'll see you next January
All right.
in the Pirates of Penzance. You're going to leave us with another song, I understand.
Yeah,
Yes.
Don Giovanni, the famous duet, La Città
Oh.
Romano. Sarah sets
Yes.
this one up pretty
In,
well for
in
you.
the
We
spirit
get to hear a little of that Mozartian thing going on.
Right.
Yeah.
Great.
So this piece takes place at my wedding. My name is Serlina, and this more, richer guy shows up and really, really thinks that I'm gorgeous, and he decides to ask me to marry him instead. So
Ah,
it's a sticky situation, but you'll see how it turns out.
I love that about opera. It's like, really? Yeah.
La ci darem la mano, la mi dirai di sì. Vedi, non è lontano, partiam ben mio da qui.
Vorrei e non vorrei, mi trema un poco il cor, felice ne sarei, ma poblarmi ancor,
Vieni, mio bel diletto,
mi fa pietà, masetto.
io canderò tua sorta.
Presto non son più forte, non son più forte, non son più forte.
Vieni, vieni, la ci darem la mano.
Vorrei e non vorrei.
La mi dirai di sì.
Mi trema un poco il cuore.
Partiam ben mio da qui. andiamo bene a ristorar le pene d'un innocente amor. Andiamo, andiamo bene, andiamo le pene a ristorar d'un innocente amor.
Well, I don't speak Italian, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I think things worked out. Bravo, brava. Guys, take care and thank you again. And we'll see you in a few months, if not sooner. We'll see ya.
All right.
Thanks,
All right. Good night.